Right. I think everything is loading here. Hey, everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, just sitting here drinking my morning coffee, looking sexy as hell as usual. Thought I would wake up a little bit with my peoples like we've been doing every morning, because why not? The other thing, it's not like I can't post other stuff. Um, I can always post other content while I do this. That's the beauty of it. So I can wake up with you people. I can make other posts while we're doing that. Some good Q&As, some good conversations going. All right. And yeah, have some fun with it. I probably need to get some current events for the afternoon stuff, though. Be sure you hit that like button as soon as you come in. Right. Remind people of that for the new people coming through here. Gotta let them know. Those are the rules, guys. All right. Those are the rules. But give this a moment. These take a few minutes to wind up. It takes usually a few minutes for people to get in here and start commenting. We'll see what we get. Sometimes they get them in the first couple of minutes. Sometimes it takes 20 minutes. I had one the other day. We had almost nothing for 20 minutes. Then it blew up, and then there were tons of people asking questions and comments and conversations. All right. But I'll be in here at least an hour. Because again, like I said, I can post other stuff while I do it when it gets a little slow. While we wait on everybody to roll in here. And we get some interesting chats in here. We end up discussing everything from physics to philosophy, politics, not just training at this point. We get into some divergent topics, of course. It's just funny because there are topics I'll know a lot about, and then others I'm like, I have no clue. I have no knowledge of this. And I think it's funny. I feel like it's almost a troll thing. People like to bring up topics that they know I have zero knowledge of. I'm like, sorry, I just don't know anything. You're like completely wasting your time in here with that. So there would be stuff like stock investment. No, I don't know anything about it. Sorry. I have zero knowledge of this. But certain physics things, sure I do. Obviously, weight training, a lot of biology stuff, medical type stuff, pew stuff. But yeah, there we go. Getting the first like, which means we may be getting some regulars in, which means we'll get some conversations going. And it's funny how as the sun comes up, my physique just sitting here changes in the sunlight. Pretty good laugh about that. Everything looks all small and visible, and then as soon as the sun comes up, I have massive veins everywhere. It's like really strange. The person who took their like away already, and that's just straight haterade right there. What are you gonna do though? Not much you can do about it, except to say that haters gonna hate. Again, these are strange. Like I said, we sometimes get comments and conversations going in the first minute. Sometimes it takes 20 minutes. So it really depends on people here. Because if there's no conversation going, I'll tend to post on other stuff. It's my normal at this point. Right? It's my normal at this point. Watch how this works. So I'll post less once everyone starts getting real conversations up. But in the meantime, while I wait on my audience to roll in, I tend to post a lot of stuff. Also, we're on Facebook and the Tubes. It's not just one platform here. So I'm streaming in a couple of platforms. Always double dip on these since it's all my different stuff. If they ever monetize Instagram lives, I might have to run a third one. That would be a lot to juggle though. Balancing 3 streams at the same time could be interesting. It wouldn't be bad when it's slow, but obviously, like we have a lot of problems when it gets really busy of me missing Facebook to check the Tubes because it tends to get more engagements. All right, at least we're getting some likes, so let's get some chats going. I got to do a call later this morning. Let me double check that call time. Kind of important to know. Okay. All right. But otherwise, it's just work. It's going to be a content type of day. I'm going to run here this morning. I'm going to get a run in, which I'll stream for you guys. And we'll make lots of content today. Mostly Facebook. I think I need to get Matthias's vlog up. Gospel says, what are the differences between a trap bar deadlifts and a regular deadlift? I need you to be specific what type of trap bar, because each type of trap bar deadlift is a completely different exercise. So do you mean the high handle or the low handle? I wouldn't even call them the same exercise, the two, by the way. So I'll assume a low handle, so we're at least talking the same range of motion instead of a partial. The low handle in theory could be a hair more squatty. You'll work a tiny amount more quad, but you'll work your back less, your erectors less. If your form is horrible, like you don't know how to deadlift, the trap bar is safer because you tend to hurt yourself with bad form on a conventional. And it's not called a regular, you mean a conventional deadlift. If you know how to deadlift conventional, the trap bar is a higher risk of injury because it's unstable at the top and it tends to tip, and you're also stronger, so it's a heavier weight. I'm not a fan of the trap bar, by the way, trap bar deadlifts. Every single argument I've ever heard made in favor of them is easily fixable by simply teaching people how to deadlift. And I do mean that. Any possible advantage of it goes away the second someone teaches you how to deadlift correctly. And now it's just a subpar back. It doesn't work your back as effectively. Like you're going to get a stronger lower back from the conventional. Hello, Jason. Would you run a program like this? 80% time? No. I don't like programming that way on percentages. So the answer is just straight up no. So there's no way for me to tell you how to progress on it. Generally, percentage-based programs, they run off periodization because they have to retest your maxes to get the percentages again. So there is no progression. You progress, I guess, just changing percentages. So percentage-based systems work that way. I don't like this style of programming. And you're not telling me anything. That's just running some programming numbers on a main lift. That's not really a program. You're just giving me a percentage and rep scheme for one exercise. Program, it should be a full program. Right? I need to see the whole week. Everything, including your ab work. That would be a program. And by the way, I don't review people's programs for free. That's a policy I made around 12 years ago, and I've stuck to it. Around 2013, I made it an official public policy. I do not publicly review your programs for free. I need to be paid for it. And I had good reasons for doing that. Because if you review people's programs for free, not only will people pester you with it nonstop, they will get angry at you when you don't do it fast enough. They will cuss you out for not instantly doing it when it's a service that you offer for free. That's been my experience. The very first time I had a fan ever cuss me out was because I didn't review his program fast enough for free. That was before I didn't have any trolls back then, by the way. I had none. So I don't do free program review. Now, if you want to hire me, I'll go over all your program and help you adjust it in the hour consultation. Frederico, coach, your opinion on lowering carbs and upping fats on rest days. I don't see how that makes sense. I don't understand the logic behind why people do that, Frederico. That's my opinion. There's no logical reason. So the days you rest, you want to eat the food that stores as fat. It doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't understand the logic at all. Right? There's simply no logic behind that. Unless you believe that we're capable of storing carbs as subcutaneous fat as a species, which we're not. Now, if you believe that myth that's been debunked, then maybe I could see where the logic is. But not really, because just eating fat. Coach, your opinion on lowering carbs? Yeah, so you already did that. You're welcome, Godspell. Straight Edge says, does gaining muscle on your upper back help build your squat? If it's a weak link, it can help stabilize your squat. Give you a better shelf to put the bar on. Helps you get tighter. How can I train when my neck is messed up? I don't know. How can you train when your neck is messed up? How are we defining as messed up and what exercises are bothering you? I mean, my neck hurts. I'm still going to squat, bench, and deadlift. You know? And just lowering carbs. But hey, Frederico, you didn't say lower calories. You said lower carbs and increase fat. You said nothing about your calories. I mean, if you're replacing carbs with fat, it's easier to overeat more calories, honestly. So wouldn't your question instead be, could you eat less calories on rest days? Maybe. I don't think it's necessary though, to be honest, because of the way our body works on processing food. And I mean, how are we defining a rest day? Like doing nothing? Like zero exercise of any type? I don't personally do a lot of those myself. You know. Do wide stance squats work the glutes more? In some cases, they might. Are you asking as a default? No. We would need a lot of close biomechanics study for you to determine if for you personally it might work the glutes more with a wider stance. Right? For some people, it might. Ghost says nerve is damaged. I'm not qualified to give advice to people with nerve damage in their neck. You're going to have to talk to your physical therapist, Ghost, and your doctor. Straight edge lifestyle. Yeah, that makes sense. Started doing Pendlay rows and the deadlift is going up. Yeah, it can tend to do that. Dad and the boy says, hey, everybody. Hey, Jason, what's up, Dad and the boys? How you doing? always think is weird as someone who has a big Facebook page. It's obviously a page, not a personal profile. When people from abroad, like in other countries, just message me, hey, or hello, and I'm like, it's very obviously a business page with a big check mark by it. It's not a profile with a friends list. It's so strange. I need to set up to where it doesn't auto reply with the coaching thing again. Or as soon as they message me a hey, it immediately offers my coaching services to them as a response. I don't even bother to respond to those, because if I respond to someone in Nigeria or they're interested in coaching services, they're not going to hire me for coaching services. So it's a complete waste of a response. It's 10 seconds I can't get back of my life. Does wide stance squats work the abductors more? Yes, in many cases, potentially. But abductors get worked on all squats. Hey, Rufio. Not necessarily. No, I don't actually believe that, by the way. Number one. And number two, the odds that he is proficient enough in the language for me to coach him and has the funds is like 1,000,000 to 1. So I don't even bother to respond, because they're not even a message of, hey, I'm interested in your coaching. It's a, hey, hello, how are you doing? This is my business page. It would be like you calling up a coaching business on the phone and just calling and saying hello. And you're like, you're calling a business, right? Oh, do you want to chat? Like that. All right. Can overdeveloped adductors create less aesthetic looking legs? I mean, in theory, Benjamin, but if you're not on a lot of drugs, I wouldn't really worry about it. Yeah. Well, I don't know that he's from Nigeria. It's just an example. No, I just got one in the middle of the stream. That's why it just came up. So let me see where the person is, actually. I'm going to guess there based on the name. It doesn't even list it. Just throwing it out there. Yeah. It's always strange to me when people try to DM my business pages for small talk. It's just like, I'm not doing that. You want small talk, come in my live streams. Right? I'm going to get paid for the small talk. We run a business here, guys. You said that leg extensions can create an unaesthetic looking leg, but I don't see how they could, since it runs down the middle of the thigh because of the rectus femoris. So, Benjamin, when you think of the classic bodybuilder thigh, so think Arnold, think even Franco Columbu, okay? They obviously had big adductors because they did squats, right? You're talking guys like Franco Columbu could squat over 600 pounds, okay? He has squat thighs, right? He has the thighs of an elite squatter. He did, okay? What do you tend to see is that big lower quad. Now, what you're thinking of with the massive adductors from pro bodybuilders today, their drug doses are so high that it's getting that big. So the rectus femoris up at the very top, that 1/4 head of the quad, right, up in the middle, gets worked with leg extensions and gets minimally worked from squat pattern movements. So it tends to develop. And we would argue if you want the classic leg look, you don't want that head to be overdeveloped. If we're going to talk purely classic aesthetics, so if we assume the Arnold and Golden era, the silver to golden era bodybuilding were the height of aesthetics, then that's what we would be saying. Let's set aside again the way the leg look today due to the drugs. Keep in mind, those guys are just that massive. The muscle has to grow somewhere. Yeah, I think overly developed legs you see are from using lots. And well, it's not just steroids. Steroids have an upper size limit. So to me, when I think of excessively high doses of steroids, I think Arnold Schwarzenegger, Lou Ferrigno, right? At most, Lee Haney, right? That is when you have maximized the androgen receptor, right? That level of size, like those guys, that is when you have absolutely maximized everything you can get out of steroids. You completely saturated the androgen receptor for years. Okay, makes sense? It's all the other anabolic pathways added to it that are creating these mass monsters. Right. Well, Rufio, do we really need to have that discussion everyone? Like, do we really need to rehash what people were saying 40 years ago already in bodybuilding for someone who doesn't compete anymore? Everyone said the same thing about Tom Platt, but there was also genetics, the way he trained. Um, you know, like that was pretty much universally agreed by everybody during the time. So we're not voicing anything that all the critics weren't saying 45 years ago. You know. Heard in the Michael Hurd podcast that Nick Walker channeled his childhood trauma with weights and leave the streets because of that. And I think that's an example of when it goes too far. Like Nick Walker is not going to be alive long. But let's come back over to, but think about how massive Platz's overall quad and stuff was too. He still didn't have the look that they have today, of the shape. And it's all the drugs. So what you're seeing is all the insulin and stuff too. Have a coffee and appreciate it, Scott. Thank you so much. We're starting this morning off good. Super chats in. So do you guys understand what we mean when we talk about these other anabolic pathways? This is a good quick lesson, I think, for people who don't understand. Let me know if you guys want a quick breakdown of it. I'll be happy to explain how the big mass monsters got created. Like if you want to know the specifics of the pathways, I'll give a quick breakdown. So essentially, when you are dealing with protein expression in the muscle tissue, the androgen receptor obviously increases IGF-1 production. It obviously increases muscle nuclei count so that you can create more proteins, right? But there's an upper threshold to that. Like we know in studies, even at lower doses, every time you double the dose, the muscle growth only increases 50%. So it's kind of like, okay, we go from 500 to 1,000, 1,000 to 2,000, 2,000 to 4,000. You're going to start having such a massive diminished return. So, a lot of times these guys were finding, honestly, a lot of guys were finding before other drugs were added, they were capping at maybe 2,000. Like anything over 2 grams, guys were just not gaining more muscle. We can discuss Mike Minzer later. I feel like I would like one day to go by where that crazy ass meth addict doesn't become a topic of conversation in the streams. He shouldn't even be a topic in 2025. He was a crazy ass meth addict who produced no champions. So, can we leave it there, or do we really want to go into it? All right, so back over to the anabolic pathway situation. Guys were getting to maybe to Arnold size and stuff, and that was it. They weren't seeing faster gains from going over about 2,000 milligrams, even though androgen receptors do upregulate, right? And when you start out even doing that much, you're not going to have the receptors to get it to respond. They do upregulate over time. This has been found in the lab, to dose. But after that, it just isn't enough. All right. So what people started doing, they started adding growth hormone in. And the reason growth hormone worked is because it allowed people to eat more while gaining less fat. There is a small synergy with making androgens slightly more effective. So guys started finding, okay, they could use a little less anabolics and get the same muscle growth. Okay. They also started finding, again, it helped with tendons, help with certain muscle fullness. Right. But the main benefit to the HGH, because it's not directly anabolic to muscle tissue, what they started noting is it allowed you to eat a lot more without gaining body fat. This was noted by bodybuilders. And so they started increasing the dose on it more and more. The problem is it creates insulin resistance while it's in the system. So any potential anabolic benefits of growth hormone don't happen. So like if someone does it for 6 months, they don't gain any muscle from it over the control group, even at high doses. And it's because any anabolic potential it has gets blunted by the insulin resistance it creates during the 8 hours post-injection. Okay. But it was still great for lean bulking. But what dudes started figuring out, due to diabetics and noting that type 1 diabetics gained muscle really, really, really well, especially when they were on steroids. A bunch of bodybuilders noted this and coaches noted this, and several type 1 diabetics, their steroids worked a lot better. They were all being prescribed insulin. So essentially what they started figuring out, because of the insulin resistance, is but if you just push more insulin into the body, it will bypass the insulin resistance. You just force it into the hole. Just more of it. You just force it. This gave us Dorian Yates in that era. So now what ends up happening, because growth hormone is great for staying lean, having a synergy, it has things with the insulin resistance that tend to blunt the anabolic effects. If people add insulin to the mix, it bypasses this. And now you get this anabolic synergy of all three. Now it kills you, but you're going to die, but you can get really, really, really big. Okay. So that became how you started getting the mass monsters, was maximizing the androgen receptor. Right. What they also found is that when growth hormone's in the mix, you can grow from more anabolics. So instead of 2 grams being the cap, 5 grams, 6 grams, 7 grams started becoming more normal. But then they up the growth hormone, then they take insulin to push through the insulin resistance. Right? So that's how the mass monsters have been created. And then after that, guys, the next thing they got added was just directly adding IGF-1 into the mix. Makes sense. So when you say steroid big, we're talking Arnold. You're talking maybe up to Lee Haney. That is steroid massive. When you think of modern pro bodybuilders, we're now talking growth hormone, insulin, IGF-1. Okay. Is one top set per exercise can be enough? I mean, no. Just because I do that on, say, the squat or the deadlift or the bench, I'm adding other exercises. So no. What do you think of Mike Israetel's training routines and fitness? I mean, I don't really think his routines are good. I mean, if you're not pointing out, there's other people. Is it true that Dr. Mike? I mean, look at the stuff that's coming out. A lot of us have been saying for a long time, nothing Mike promotes in programming is based on science. It's not. It's based on his marketing. A lot of us have been saying this a long time, but he's being ripped apart now publicly. Hey, Jason, apart from exercise, what are some things you do every day frequently to build mental health and strength? I don't know that I necessarily have a good answer to that. I mean, I have a very regimented lifestyle. I mean, I'll give you a good one. How about just eating a healthy diet alone? That impacts mental health. Junk food will create mental illness, right? Look at all the data that we have on how mental health and neurotransmitters are impacted by gut biome. So if you want to become mentally ill, eat junk food every day. That will help you come right along with it, right? You're having some mild depression. Eat a bunch of junk food. That'll really kick it off to the next tier, right? So again, a healthy diet, good sleep hygiene, right? And I would say the other thing would be practice mindfulness in general. Be mindful of where, right? Be present in the moment, but also set goals. But I would say that for me, just mental health, as someone who is a child abuse survivor, I have documented PTSD from that. Those things. Taking care of yourself physically, though, is a big part of it, right? But having a structured lifestyle, regimented, learning to be mindful of things in the moment. Stress management, learning to manage your stress emotionally, learning to step back and ask yourself if something is worth being upset about. Does it really matter? Right? Those are things that help. Like not allowing yourself to be worked up by things that don't actually matter. Kind of important. You know. The stronger we get, the less volume we need. I don't agree with that, Scott. It might be the less volume you can tolerate. The WHO says 36 grams of refined sugar a day. I don't know where that number came from. I'm not even aware the WHO said that. I'm going to call bullshit. This is the same WHO who's admitted that one alcoholic drink a month is harmful, based on the data. Yeah. Are you sure they said there's no negatives to that? Could you send me a link to that on social media somewhere in a DM? You can't post links on my channel. I have them blocked. Yeah. I find it hard to believe that they said there's no harm at all to 36 grams of refined sugar, because that's going to generally be about 50% of that's going to be straight fructose. I mean, they might be able to argue that it's a minimal negative. Right. Hot take, weights have more overall all-around health benefits than traditional cardio. That's not a hot take, Darth. Is that even a point of controversy scientifically? I mean, we've had a meta-analysis come out and say that. Multiple meta-analysis have literally said that. So, I mean, if you're agreeing with the last three meta-analysis, I don't know that it's a hot take. Kind of old news, you know. Now, maybe the average person isn't aware of it, but anyone who follows exercise or medical science already knows that. Like it's pretty well confirmed. Have you seen the documentary? I think I got a copy of it on my computer still. I saw it when it first came out, Benjamin. I have not seen it in at least 12 years, 15 years, maybe even. But I do have a copy somewhere on one of my hard drives. It's been a while, though. I don't know. I haven't seen it in a long time. I did see it and downloaded it when it first came out, though. I'll be right back, guys. I'm going to get some more coffee. All right. So let me answer your question, Sean. Normally, I had no opinion on that one. All right. So he said, Jason, thoughts on people who choose to jogging with shoes instead of barefoot? 3 months ago, I would have had no opinion at all on that. But since everyone who runs with his shoes seems to be really upset that I run without them, my official response has to be, well, anyone who needs shoes to run is a bitch ass pussy. I wouldn't have had an opinion on that at all. I would have just been like, well, it's a personal choice. But since people have made a big deal who run with shoes about me running barefoot, then I'm just going to say they're a bitch ass weak pussy. If people had just left it alone and said, yeah, well, I choose to run without shoes, that's cool, and not made a big deal about it, I would have just said it's just a personal preference. They want to run with shoes, not a problem, right? I never thought it was a big deal until people started attacking me over it. Because people attacked me first. So if people are going to attack me, I'm going to attack them back. I used to leave the carnivore thing alone until they came at me. I didn't make fun of carnivore. They started it. So don't start nothing, won't be nothing. All right. I made a mistake, including even in my streams. You know, they made a big deal. People did in here. It's like, okay, well, fine. Y'all are a bunch of bitch-made pussies who need shoes. All right. Straight edge says I made a mistake. My bad. There's just a limit to no more than 10% of total calories. I don't think they said there's no negative health effects. You're right. Right. Because their assumption is people can't get rid of it, that they won't stop eating it. So they tell you to minimize it. Obviously, eating no refined sugars would be optimal. I run on the concrete. I run on the street. Right there on the asphalt. On camera. Do you ever watch Jay Cutler? No. No. I have no interest whatsoever in Jay Cutler. Well, I'm sorry you got bit by a dog, man. Sorry to hear that, dude. I hope that you recover, and I hope the dog didn't have rabies. You know, I hope it was up to speed on its shots. Because we used to train heavy, and that happens oftentimes, unfortunately. You know, I mean, dogs that run out and bite people, they frequently do that because they're not. That dog's a danger. You know, bad owners create problems. Yeah, 10% of calories from refined sugar is still a lot if you're eating it right. You seem to read a fair amount of research. You make a point to read a certain amount a day. No, I don't have a set amount. Sometimes I go down tangents and I'll read 50 pages of studies in an afternoon. Right. Jason, you saved my life. Well, I'm glad to hear it, man. How so? I had a client question. I'm already familiar with Nexzilla. I unfortunately get enormous amounts of pro bodybuilder stuff in my social media feed, even though I don't follow the pages. So I have seen Nexzilla at least 7,000 times now, completely against my will. I was having health issues many years ago, and your advice is what put in my application. And doctors said I got a whole life ahead of me now. Awesome, man. Glad to hear it. Is there a surefire way to prevent calf cramps? No. Jason, I've started doing reverse hypers and it feels like medicine to my lower back. Do you advocate doing them multiple times a week? I do them 3 times a week right now, personally, at the moment. I have clients who, if we need to do certain stuff with it, I'll have them do them every day for a while. I do, like I said, right now I do 3 times a week for 5 sets. Jason, do you know vegan activists hate you because you're blocking the vegan movement? What? I wasn't aware that a bunch of vegan activists hate me. I'm not blocking the movement. I just make fun of them. They need to be clowned on just like the carnivores. All right? All these crazy fad diet people, you know, it's insane. Why can't we, guys, eat lean meats, eat grains, fruits, vegetables, nuts, dairy? This is not difficult. Do you think the abductor and adductor machines are useful? Maybe in some situations. I don't personally use them. But, they could be, sure, if you really need a little extra work for those areas. They could have a small benefit there. Do you think Turkish get-ups has any? Sure, it's a general mobility and core exercise. I think it can, sure. I mean, it's not going to be an amazing, you're going to build tons of muscle and strength with it. But no, I think it can have some utility. All right. Of course it does. Hold on, got to make another group post. I couldn't post to groups for 2 weeks on Facebook. I decided I did too much of it. All right. What advice, any domain of life, would you give to your younger self? I wouldn't. I'm not a fan of that question. Here's the problem. So let's assume that I built some sort of time machine to send a message to my younger self. And then that advice ended up causing me to not give the advice and build the time machine. I could destroy the entire universe. This is dangerous shit. Like, you could create a paradox that completely destroys the universe with stuff like this. You need to be very careful here. Right? Or if you buy into M theory, are we going to splinter into multiple realities with this? You know? No, Sean, I'm not even going to answer that. That's kind of one of those where, man, even jumping into that, I know you're a paying channel member, but I might need to just get rid of you. You know? So I'll allow you to delete your own comment, though. But, you know, actually, I'll just delete the comment. We don't need that nonsense in here at this point. Like, I don't feel that I need to address any of that anymore. I gave you guys, right? I gave you guys a 15-minute explanation 8 years ago. I shouldn't have to explain any of it again. So I agree, physics is a big factor there, right? I mean, again, so I think you need to be very careful with, you know, creating paradoxes with stuff like that. So be very careful of sending yourself messages back in time to your younger self that could change your ability to actually send the message itself. You know, right? I mean, and we already know what my biggest life mistake is. I mean, I've basically done a 15-minute video apologizing for my greatest mistake in life. The most harmful thing I have ever done that hurt my life and everything, I've already apologized for. This is actually one of the things he was bringing up. Like, the greatest mistake of my entire life was done on YouTube. You know, in 2014, I believe, at this point. All right. Good morning, Jason. You still fasted? Yeah, I don't eat before noon generally at all. So it's 6:30 here. I have nothing but black coffee. Sometimes maybe some electrolyte water before noon. So all my training is still fasted too. So yes, that 2-hour workout you guys saw yesterday with all the squats and the deadlifts, and that's done fasted. Would you ever debate people online? I don't know. I've never taken a course in a debate. I got an A in public speaking. I'm not trained in public debate, to be fair. So I have a feeling anyone who's taken several classes in public debate might whoop my ass at it, to be fair. You know, because my response might end up being, dude, you're a bitch ass pussy. Debate over. We're done. You know, and then I would count that as a win. If they just said something really stupid, I'm just going to call them a dumb fuck. And debate's over. I won. Right? Hey, Stevie, it was for entertainment. It required an apology because I got swatted. I had a bomb squad close my entire street down for 8 hours. I got stalked. So, you know, kind of a big deal, dude. Even Sean said he got bit by a dog, right? And that's how I perceived it at the time, Stevie. But you know, it blew back on me pretty hard. You know, it was all intended in good fun as entertainment, and it kind of backfired. But I think people didn't understand that forever. People didn't realize I deleted it over 10 years ago. Yeah. I mean, my neighbors couldn't even get to their house. Their house is because they blocked everyone. So, have I ever been bit by a dog? Um, I think everyone's been bit by a dog. So, could you be more specific? Are you talking bad enough that it needed medical treatment, bit by a dog? Or have I just been mildly bit by a dog? I mean, anyone who's been around anyone's little small yip dog has been bit, right? I've been bit by a dog many, many, many times. Have I ever had one that needed stitches or something? No. One of my best bros' dog bites everybody. And I kind of like, why don't you train your dog better? Like the dog bites everyone who comes in the house every single time. But it's only this big, you know. So that dog has bit me like 50 times, you know. And then bites the next person who comes, bites their kids, you know. Yeah. Growth is more important than anything. You can't change the past, but you can move forward. Absolutely. You know, be mindful of your day to day decisions. Um, yeah. Should slaughtering animals be done in a humane way? It generally is, dude. It's usually like so modern world, like for cows, man, it's just a bolt gun to the head. It's done. Do you have any mirrors? Do you see any mirrors in my home, Jim? I mean, you've seen the full run of the whole thing. I put up some pictures the other day of the different angles on social media. Um, there's no mirrors in there. I don't think we should have mirrors in the weight room. Not where there's barbells. You want a little pump area with mirrors with dumbbells, that's fine, but nothing, barbells should not have mirrors near them, in my opinion. Right. So, Sean, I have no personal issues with current ranching practices in the United States. I don't see any problem because looking at the mirror can mess your form up. You will watch yourself and it will change your head tracking and things. So, squatting with a mirror, deadlifting with a mirror is a big no no. So we could say the same for other lifts like any standing barbell movement. So a clean, a snatch, right? Do you think about 31? So, Dad, I'm going to pull my standard line. I'm going to need you to explain what this is. Is this a video game? Is it a basketball team? Like, don't assume that I know a name just because you say it. 31 dash Atlas, or is that divided by Atlas? I I don't know what that is. All right. It's a comet slash asteroid. Well, which one is it? Is it a comet or an asteroid? Those are not the same thing. Would you say Michael Jordan was one of the best athletes in the sport? He definitely would be up there. I don't know why my opinion on that matters. I mean, yeah. You know, I'm going to go out on a limb and say as a general rule, any athlete anywhere in the world who's made at least $20 million as an athlete is probably one of the greatest athletes in the world of all time. Like normal people don't make 20 plus $1 million. Have you ever seen the British sitcom Mr. Bean? No, I've not. Have I seen pictures of Mr. Bean with his weird face on social media? Yes. I don't know what it's about though. I just know he's a dude with a weird looking face. That's the entirety of my knowledge. Like I've seen pictures of Mr. Bean. Is that the guy with doing the weird face? That guy, right? Yeah. He's some British dude who does a weird face, some type of weird looking smile. We see the beginning of tall for a man. I don't understand that. Benjamin, please word your question a different way. What is something you want everyone? Psych. I don't discuss a lot of my personal stuff at all. I keep my personal life off the internet as best I can these days, because I have actual real stalkers, like that I've had to have law enforcement involved with numerous times. So I actually don't discuss certain things at all online. Jordan was the best athlete in the 90s. Yeah, I mean, he was up there. Poor Rowan. I don't know who that is. He's a funny looking guy. So does that guy actually look like that, or is he not? I thought he was making a face for the camera. How do you consider to be tall for a man? I guess 6 foot plus. Psych, you and what? Views trickle down. We were getting a bunch more views. Guys, hit the like button. You guys aren't clicking like. There's too many people in here. Not enough likes. We're down only 12 viewers. We had a lot more. I need you guys to be Johnny on the spot with those likes. All right. Do you think 5 foot? How do we define good? So I need you to define good for me, Benjamin, because this sounds very abstract. Good for what purpose? Like for what are we asking about here? And it's rather strange that we're asking about something that you have no control over. You know. And do you mean real 5'11" or do you mean internet 5'11"? Because I can tell you right now, everybody in the industry who posts that they're 5'11" on the internet is shorter than me in person, and I'm only 5'9". That's all I'm saying. Every dude who writes 5'11" online is like to hear on me, but I'm only 5'9". It's very strange. You know. As in balance between tallest but not too tall. Hey Benjamin, let me be frank. I don't understand what you're asking me. Until I got into the fitness circles, I've never heard people so obsessed about height as young men on the internet. All of a sudden, it's a very weird. I think it's really weird. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think it's really weird. Like it's creepy weird. Like something wrong with you guys that you are so obsessed with height. It's just to the point where everyone lies about their height. It's so weird. Like my generation didn't do this, by the way. So we don't understand. Like we don't understand at all. You know, it's just very strange. You guys are very obsessed with something that you have no control of. I don't get it. I'm just saying my generation didn't have conversations about this. Dudes didn't stand around talking about their height at all, ever. you know. Um, yeah, the fitness world lies about weight and height, a common thing. Obviously, why, of course. Sorry, fitness influencers. Social studies reveal every single time that women prioritize men's height over any other trait. So, uh, yeah, I've never seen that. Alan, I guess because for me, it's not never been part of my world. I just don't. I don't understand. All right. So until I got on the internet and people started accusing me of being short, everyone just assumed I was 5'11" or 6 foot my whole life, and I had to be like, no, I'm 5'9". It's just really weird. Even like my best bro was like, You're about 5'11", right?" Came up one day, I'm like, no, dude, I'm 5'9". What are you talking about? So I just don't. This has never been part. Like these are not conversations that people really have worrying about their height. I only knew like one short guy in my whole circle of friends. So I've never met Jay Cutler, but I know Kai Green comes to about here on me. I've stood 2 feet from him. So and Kai Green climbs what, 5'7", 5'8", but he's about here. Um, yeah, I don't know. Right. Was Kai Green? I didn't really talk to him. I quite frankly didn't care. I overheard him. I guess he wasn't that nice. I overheard like someone asking him what steroids he takes, and he asked him what steroids did their mama take. He goes, "What's in your mama's medicine cabinet?" You know? Hey, Alan, that's complete nonsense. You guys make up this nonsense. This is not even true. I've never seen such nonsense. You mean a few girls on the internet who can't get a man? No, nobody prioritizes this. No. To me, it just seems strange because out of my circle of bros, the short friend, we have one short friend. He ended up marrying a smoking hot chick. Now they got divorced, but he ended up marrying a smoking hot chick. He didn't tell us, and then we found out later they had issues. She had done a bunch of porn, and we didn't know, but it created issues for them. But before they got married, but so it was just rather, yeah. So I don't understand any of this at all. When people say this stupid stuff, I'm like, the one short bro that we made fun of, called him a troll. When we were younger, ended up marrying a porn star. Yeah, I don't know, guys. So I don't understand this dynamic. Or dudes talking about they can't get a date. I just don't understand at all. Go talk to women. This is not difficult. Yes, I was an avid book reader. I own hundreds of novels, actually. Hundreds. Favorite book. Favorite doesn't have to be because it was the best book. I'm going to go with The Sword of Shannara, only because it was the first really long one I read. But if I go back to even younger childhood favorites, I'm going to go with any of the Lion, Witch, and Wardrobe. I read a lot of fantasy literature. If I'm going to go with novels, I like fantasy. But if we're going to go with nonfiction, I actually like history books. The new generation Z is having a tough time of day. I don't understand that at all. Like, go talk to women. It's just not difficult. I think the reason the dudes are having a problem is they do stuff that women find unattractive and don't understand. Watching anime and spending all your time playing video games is not conducive to getting women. It's just not. Women find these things unattractive. So if you go to those same surveys, dudes will worry about surveys, right? You're like, well, the popular trend is women not doing okay. Talk about height. But what do women say? And adult women, right? We're talking women who have jobs, who are over 20 years old, who are gainfully employed, right? What things turn them off in terms of men's hobbies is complete, might as well pour sand on the pussy. Anime and excessive video gaming, top of the list. So if you go read these surveys and you're standing around doing these things, don't blame your height. You know what I mean, guys? And dudes who will argue this stuff, they will argue this stuff. It's so easy because these guys are losers and it's just free for everyone who's not. It's just, yeah, stability, discipline, humor, ambition will get most men through. Absolutely. What hobbies do women find attractive? You ready? Any type of art, playing an instrument, cooking, outdoorsy stuff, any of those? All right. So I'll give you guys a little bit of advice here. Get in shape and get fit. Learn to play the guitar and learn to cook. That would go a long way. But any art will work. Women like artistic things, whether it's something that you create artistically or an instrument. Those go a long way. Like if you want to have something that attracts them, book reading can. Of course, women want financial stability. It doesn't, men to some extent want that today in a woman. It's not as big, nowhere near top of the list by any means. But it doesn't mean they're gold diggers. They just don't want to take care of you. Good point. A major turnoff is when they see you fantasizing over Power Rangers or Dragon Ball. So, hey, straight edge, you ever actually talked to a group of women about this topic? Like, have you ever sat down in a room with 2 or 3 women and discussed the anime thing, how they perceive it? I have, by the way. I have literally face to face had this conversation. Do you want to know what the answer is? How do you guys think they perceive it? Like if you ask a group of women in person, like I'm talking adult women, why it's a turnoff, what do you think their reason is? Specifically with anime. Anybody care to make a guess? They see them as children. They're like, I don't need a child, I need a man. Like little boys watch cartoons. They're like, a grown ass man doesn't sit around watching cartoons. I need a man. I don't need to raise a child. Boom. Because if you sit around watching cartoons, you're a little boy and they don't want to raise a boy. They want a grown ass man to step into their life. You know, but that's my thing. I'm talking about dating women. I'm not talking about dating immature girls because that's not going to work out if you want a partner. Right. That's why I said the other day, and I put that up on Facebook. I tell guys, look, the 4 things you should worry about as a man. And some people don't like the faith one, so we can take it to 3. Right? Faith, family, fitness, finances. That's your 4 F's. Worry about those 4 things as a man. And if you're not religious, okay, we could take it over to the worry about family, fitness, and finances. Okay? Everything else is a distraction. Psych says, I think. So Psych says, females just want a masculine man who will protect them and provide stability. Right. They also want a man who will buy them tacos and touch their butt. All right. Yeah, I'm not vain yet. As soon as the sun comes up, then I have the veins everywhere. Right. We always see that. Yeah. Once the sunlight hits, then we get veins the size of my finger running up my arms. When it's dark, they're not there. Give it about 30 minutes, or the afternoon ones, right? Podcast. I got 2 of the F's in order. I need to focus on the other 2. And Alan, I mean, and I think that's the thing, that I tell that to guys, like the younger guys, they ask advice, they're like, you're 48. What advice do you have? And I'm like, focus on those things, man. And I chose not to have kids, by the way, so that comes up, like due to my own childhood. But I keep my personal romantic life off the internet. People don't need to know if I'm seeing anyone or not. I always get dudes who are like, well, what do you know about? It's like, well, guys, I mean, my first wife is dead. My second wife, ex-wife, we divorced for a lot of reasons, but I don't have a problem getting married, guys. This has not been a problem for me. Do you think it's important for a man to earn more than the woman? Oh man, what a conversation. I suppose it depends upon the dynamic of what you're looking for in a relationship or a marriage. Like, are you going to want her to raise kids? Then you better be making more than her. Let's just be realistic here, guys. Unless she's got something, I get it. If she's a doctor or has some amazing career, right? But generally speaking, yeah, as a general rule, if you want to provide the same lifestyle and you're going to want to have kids and have her spend more of the time raising them, you probably do need to make more than her because she's going to have a heavier workload as a mom than you probably are as a dad. So, I mean, if you're thinking in terms of long term with that, yeah, you do need to be thinking about should you probably make a bit more than her? Yeah, it would be a good idea. Am I saying it's important? No. But from a pragmatic perspective, you have to think in those terms. All right. Your arms looking much bigger in general. Yeah, in the afternoon, my arms look 2 inches bigger in the afternoon. Well, just like comically different with the sunlight. But I'm also carved up. I'm also fasted in the mornings. Those are my favorite streams. Are box squats good? Box squats are phenomenal. You have to see me box squat like 505 pounds before. No, I think box squats are great. I'm a big fan. I also feel that some people try too hard to get a partner. The way that I see it is you should focus on yourself and your own life. Nothing wrong with trying. Yeah, no, I agree with that too, straight edge. Like if you're spending all your time on dating apps, and I tell guys that. So, I agree, straight edge. It would be no. I'll give you an example of that, Alan, later. Of it's not always the case. So I've known of someone who made good money and his wife made more, but it was because her profession just made that much money. You know, he only made like 80 grand a year, but he had a good stable career. And his wife made like 300,000 a year. It turned out. We found out later. Like he was my boss at one time. He's like, how do you guys afford all these horses? He had 20 horses, like with their own individual stalls. It's like his wife just made that much money. He didn't feel it was emasculating. He was a very, very manly dude. Rode horses, shotguns, He was definitely a cowboy. But no, I agree with that. So that's kind of the point I make. Focus on those other things, So generally speaking, if you're a fit guy, you're in good shape, you're focusing on your business and taking care of stuff, women are going to be attracted. Like you're going to have women show up interested. Okay. Like you shouldn't need to be out chasing women, like he said, obsessively, if you're taking care of your business as a man. And that's the thing I would say to a lot of guys is that if you are having to chase women, that is a sign that you're not doing stuff right. Right. So if you have your shit together, so to speak, guys, and you're taking care of your business, women are going to flirt with you. They're going to express interest. You're going to have options available. So if you come to the other, then that's desperate. Like if you're spending your time on dating apps, you're already kind of scraping the bottom of the bucket at this point, so to speak. Yeah, being too keen is a turn on, And I'm not saying men shouldn't do the chasing, but once they express the interest, then you can do the chasing. But the point is, if you're over here obsessing, you're spending all your time on dating apps and trying to figure that it's like, no. Take care of your business, and women are gonna flirt with you, right? Be confident. Have your shit together. But I mean, again, if you're taking care of your business, women will notice. Okay. They will notice. So it really is like that. But I think too, guys, you gotta also look at compatibility. You know, and I think that's a big one in the fitness sphere. You guys have to remember, if you live a fitness lifestyle, you're not going to be compatible with someone who's not fit. You know, and it's not even worth arguing. You know, it's not because it's about aligning values. And people say stupid stuff. Was it because I came over one of my brothers sometime? He's like, "Are you saying you wouldn't date a fat girl?" And I'm like, I have no trouble with a girl being fat. Like, let me make that clear. Like, to me, a girl carrying some extra weight is not like a visual turnoff. But the question becomes, like, it's not like it's unattractive. Are our life values and lifestyle the same? Meaning, I don't eat junk food. I don't drink alcohol. Are their values and lifestyle going to align with mine? Like, I have a no alcohol rule in my home, for example. I don't allow people to bring alcohol into my home. So again, we come over to values. Would I be able to date someone who drinks? No, it's not. It's going to be a problem. You know, but the same thing with the other stuff. If they're wanting to go out or they're wanting us to sit around eating junk food and chips while we Netflix and chill, and I live on chicken, rice, and vegetables, and steak and potatoes, this is a problem. You know, so that's what I mean. So people have to think in those terms of aligning lifestyles and values. You know, in terms of compatibility. But even then, in the health world, we're at a point where there's so many women who are into fitness that it's not like this is an issue either. Right? But they're the same way. Like, I know women who are very fit who they won't date a guy who doesn't work out, and it's for the same reasons. They're like, because they're like, I work out, I eat well. I don't want to be with a man who's a slob. You know, because again, it's about alignment of values, alignment of lifestyle. If you have to work all the time, earn good money, 100K, but have no free time, do things you want to do, is it worth it? I mean, that's a big debate. Consistent fitness shows discipline, right? But I think that's a case for someone like me, because my lifestyle is extremely disciplined and regimented. I'm a coach by profession. Like, I do virtual coaching, and then social media is secondary income. My primary is my coaching business. I have an extremely disciplined lifestyle, but by that same token, you know, a partner has to be reasonably disciplined. It's not going to work otherwise. They don't have to be at my tier, of course. I mean, obviously, it's not like you tell a woman, you don't squat at least 315 pounds. This is a problem. You know, you don't run X number of miles. No, it doesn't have to be like that. But they need to have definitely discipline too. Those things work both ways. But I've historically, you know, dated a number of women who were super fit, competitive. So it's not really, you know, outside of my circles, anyways. You know, I've dated competitive powerlifters and bodybuilders and things. So, um, think that came up before. Someone asked me, and one of you dated any women on steroids? I'm like, I've had 3 exes who used steroids, actually. So yes. Not heavy users, of course. So you think dating apps are? I think they're a waste of time. Yeah, for men. I've never even been on one. Like, I don't know what they look like. So people will discuss Tinder or whatever. I'm like, I've never actually seen it. So when you guys talk about the swiping, I don't actually know what you mean. Yeah, it's just not necessary. But I come from a generation we didn't have to do that, and we still don't. Yeah, I think for men, they're a waste of time. I tell guys, focus on yourself, focus on taking care of your business. You'll attract women, right? And train your legs. We'll get me started on that one. And I've shown screenshots. Like I think it was hilarious. Like my friend Brianna and Alex. I've had her say that in social media conversations. She's like, women notice, right? And she's someone that most dudes out there would describe as a 10. You know, and her husband is super fit and has an advanced degree with a high income. I haven't done any martial arts since I was a kid. I coach a lot of BJJ people. Like I've coached multiple competitive people who compete in BJJ. I did some vlogs with some of them, like Joshua Taylor over in the UK. He's a ranked fighter. We did vlogs with him for quite a while. Is clubbing a good way? No, I don't think so. I made a status on that on Facebook the other day, Benjamin. Sorry, let me check Facebook. I've not looked. I appreciate the like there, Carol, on Facebook. I made a status on that yesterday, and I said, if you date people you meet at the club, don't act surprised when they act like people who hang out at the club. Right? No. But also keep in mind, Benjamin, I'm big on sobriety, right? So from my perspective, I'm obviously going to see that as a place where people go to drink and you know. And I think heavy drinking is going to be a problem for any sort of consistent relationship, right? And I'm not saying drinking in moderation is, but again, you're going to be more likely to meet people who drink and party a lot if you're meeting them at the club. And as someone who has been in relationship, I've had 2 exes who were alcoholics. I'd never do it again. What is the coaching for? My strength coaching to get people strong and jacked. I mean, go to the community tab. You'll see tons of the testimonials, and I have client blogs. Strength coaching. I will get you strong and jacked. And no, most of my people are not competitors. I don't coach as many athletes, competitors anymore. I do a lot more Gen Pop. The community tab on YouTube, there's a community tab where you post pictures and comments. So I have posts up where I post that. Or you could just go straight to, hold on, we'll just go to Facebook. Make it easier. You just want to see what I mean. We'll just make it easy. There you go. There's my sticky at the top of the page. Gen Pop, general population, people who don't compete in anything. Right? Non-competitors. is Gen Pop, general population. Because we're talking coaching and lifting. So when I say Gen Pop, I mean people who don't compete in any sports. Oh, you're older. Most of them, I specialize in over 40, by the way. We lost the stream. Sorry, the software had an error. It kicked me back over. Can you guys see me? I'm going to end this shortly anyways. Facebook is an older group anyways. I mean, over 40. I'm 48, dude. I compete in a sport doesn't mean I'm not part of it. Yeah, you wouldn't be Gen Pop. You'd be a competitor. I don't know why you're saying gym. I did not say gym. Gen, as in general population. All right. This is a standard term in the training and coaching world. Right. So I do a lot more gen population. In fact, I've shifted very heavily to non-competitors over the age of 35. It's become my largest client demographic. So guys like Alex, so you see Alex's vlogs, client Alex, that would be my typical client. And the older I'm getting, the more I'm interested in training for overall health and fitness rather than aesthetics, right? Well, come on over, Benjamin. Come on over to Team Blaha. Right. I mean, I train mostly for general health and fitness. It's just that with a powerlifting background, I'm gonna lift heavy weights. You know, like you guys see in the vlog, you're like, that's not general fitness. You're doing repping out 500 pounds. I'm like, but I have a powerlifting background, so that's my work sets. You know, but I do care about the squat, bench, and deadlift, and I'll probably compete again and try to go for some records in my 50s. Bad neck. Yeah, I run 3 or 4 days a week, Brian. So I only lift 4 days a week. But I mean, my workouts are I do rep work with 315 on the bench. I do rep work with 500 on the deadlift. Those are standard every workout type weights for me. So that is just a normal training session. But I run too. I'm big on cardio. I'll probably do some 5Ks coming up also. I'm definitely more aware of the importance, right? You got to have legs, bros, right? You got to have legs. Coach, it's worth getting to know a new girl if you just invest time and it just ends eventually. Yeah, of course it is Limitless. So Limitless went on his first date, and I gave him advice in here. Yeah, of course it's worth it. So Limitless, how are you going to meet the right girl if you don't take the risk of getting to know different girls who seem like a possible match? If you're not willing to take the time and then it doesn't work and you go to the next one, then how are you going to do that? It's like Wes Watson training. What? I don't know what Wes Watson's training is like. He's just some goofball ass thug. It's the second time we get to know someone after a few months. It just ends randomly. This ends randomly. Well, it's not usually how it works. Yeah, Wes Watson is literally a thug. Yeah. Do you think in this day and age men can expect women? You still need to do the chasing. Like they might express interest, but once they've expressed interest, you're going to need to do some chasing. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's okay. Just get more practice at it. We can't help you in the stream with all of this. At least we gave you advice and you went on that date and, weren't nervous. So again, be yourself. But also I would say, make yourself into somebody better. Like if I tell someone to be their self, that doesn't mean, oh, I just want to watch anime all day. Well, that's not what you want to do. Yeah. Because that's not really yourself. That is just a weird childish hobby. So I think people need to understand the difference. Meaning your personality, you don't need to put on a mask. That's actually a good way to not have a relationship work. To be a different person around them than you really are is going to be a problem. So that's what I mean by be yourself. You have time. Just put yourself out there. You'll find the right one. Dating is largely an I don't think that it is. Right? I don't think that it is at all. Just be yourself, be confident. No, it doesn't need to be an act because again, you're putting on an act. It's not going to work because then they're going to see a different person later. So no, I'm going to recommend you not do that. Right? But yeah, as far as the women chasing, I don't know, man. I had one, and again, I didn't put it online. I had one where I was chased and said no several times, and then finally went with it, and it ended up going really badly. Right? So, just saying. And one where I was chasing, I told her no 3 times, 3 different times. And then once I agreed and was all in, there was problems. Like, do you agree that men are more visual than women? Yes. But we know this. I'm not saying women don't care. They don't care to the degree that we do. They don't care to the degree that we do. All right. What do we got going on Facebook? Not much. Nice. Well, I've got to make another post. Make a post for those dollars. But no, I mean, everyone agrees that men are generally more visual. We care about it more, but they care. They obviously do care. But in terms of attractiveness, women care about how you make them feel, right? That's something to think about. Harris says hi. What's going on, Harris? How do we only have 12 likes with all the views we had comments? There's more than 12 of you people commenting. What's going on, Dean? Dean, are you still matching? We got a 5 quid super earlier. What are your thoughts on the Norwegian 4x4 method? I don't think about it at all. Drop your likes for Daddy, guys. Appreciate it. Tell them, Rufio. Would you say men and women are more different than they are the same? No, they're more the same than they are different. Come on, dude. We're the same species. So maybe word that differently. What is it that you were asking? Right. I mean, us being the same species, yes, we are more the same than we are different. But everyone has different perspectives. But there's a different experience. Yeah, I mean, male and female experience. Awesome, Dean. Appreciate it, man. It's a super chat type of morning. All right. Maybe one day we'll set a new record. My record was $200 in super chats in one super. Actually, I made more than 200 in that one. Yeah, I want to make like 240 in supers. I was like, are we serious? All right. That'd be cool if that happened more often, but it doesn't. The coaching will always be the primary. Social media is unreliable in terms of consistent, but it all adds up. But I appreciate that, Dean. Dean's always an ongoing supporter. Dean has also been a client before, though. No, there's absolutely differences, though. And because it's a different experience, it's a different, hormonal environment in utero, different cultural differences, being raised different. There's going to be dramatic differences. Social roles are going to be different. The life experience is going to be different between men and women. Obviously, saturated fats and refined sugars are both deadly in excess amounts, but one is going to be worse. As in, so what does data show? So if we go look, there was a pretty in-depth study done on this a while back, looking at overall, say, metabolic health markers. Okay. And so in terms of things like effects on liver, metabolic health, like as measured, and it showed that excess saturated fat was worse than excess refined fructose. Not by an enormous margin, though, but significant enough that it was measurable. Right. So in excess, in terms of total negative metabolic health, saturated fat is worse. But you don't want either one in excess. But when we say that, I'm not saying not to eat any saturated fat. So, and I think that's where people, misunderstand it. Look, guys, having a really lean steak with a little saturated fat in it every day is not going to hurt you if everything else is on point. But yeah, in excess. And excess is going to be determined by a lot of factors. I mean, stuff like looking at your lipid profile will tell you a lot. Like if your LDL-C is elevated, this is a problem. Right? If your fasting glucose is elevated, this is a problem. And no, the lipid hypothesis hasn't been debunked. It's only been strengthened the more data that's gathered. It's just the initial ideas on it were wrong. The different causes were misunderstood. It wasn't in the wrong direction. It was in the right direction. It's just the details were way off early on. And when we say early on, we're talking 50 years ago, 40 years ago. We don't mean 10 years ago early on. right? Any cardio? Yeah, I'm gonna run here a little fairly soon. I'm gonna go make a run. I mean, I'll stream the run, so I'm just gonna throw my shorts and my fanny pack on and get out and get some barefoot miles in. It's just, I find so comical how so many people have a problem with me running barefoot, and it's like, you guys are ridiculous. I've run barefoot on the concrete. It's even funnier when haters are like, it's because you can't afford shoes. I literally have a Gibson Les Paul sitting behind me. I just can't. I don't know if Lars is trying to come back. Do you think the pendulum squat is an effective leg builder? I think the pendulums, I don't like a lot of those machines. I think pendulum squats depend on your individual biomechanics. Some people, it puts them into a very good position. Some people, it's a very awkward position that puts too much stress on their back. So it's going to be a very case by case basis. Fan of Denzel Washington, I suppose. I mean, he's made a lot of good movies. Right? I feel like he's kind of typecast as an actor, though. You know? I feel like Denzel Washington kind of plays the same role almost. Not that he's bad at it; he's a good actor. You know? All right. That's $10,000 alpaca. You block that shit, right? That Denzel Washington. That's from American Gangster. Right. Piece of equipment are you looking to add to your home gym? I don't have anything I'm planning on adding to the home gym next. If anything, I'd sell some of it. Right. I need to scale it down a little. People say that stuff and they act like I don't already have this insane, ludicrous, excessive home gym already. I really and truly need to scale it down. I legitimately need to sell some of it all. I have stuff I will never use again. And I feel like it just gets in the way at this point, right? Moving stuff around when I want to get to certain things. You know. So I'm not looking to add anything. I'm trying to figure out what I want to sell. I don't need a leg press though. What are some of the things you wouldn't use again? A lot of the bars. I will never use my trap bar. I'll probably never use any of the football bars. Even some of the extra surplus road bars. I don't use them. Right? I don't use them. I have at least 2 rogue barbells I don't use, like the BNR bar, the deadlift bar, because I use my Texas deadlift bar. I'll never use my Rogue Ohio deadlift bar. Those 3 football bars, I can get rid of. I have 3 different football bars. Stuff like that just needs to go. You know, I don't know that I'll ever use my sissy squat again. Donate for tax write-off. That's not viable. Hey Dean, right now tax write-offs are not working. I can't get my deductions to exceed the standard deduction at the moment. I've tried. I used to. Like I've had 20 grand in deductions before, but that's been a while. Like I've not been able to exceed that 14.4. So that's not even viable. What about your preacher curl? Maybe I might use it again. Maybe not. You know, but I have at least 5. I have 6 barbells I'll probably never use again. I could just sell those, you know. So on and so forth. Eventually, I'd probably get rid of the glute ham raise I have, and if I wanted one, I'd just attach the the road donkey cut floor space. I just don't have a use for football bars. I mean, I bench all the time. I do normal bench press 3 days a week with my meat legal bar. So, you know, I just don't have a use for my football bars. I don't find them useful. All right, we have an ass clown. You guys ready for it? You guys want to do a vote? Let's vote. I'll give you guys a vote him off the island. So Blaine came in and says, "Why are you getting to know where your daddy?" Okay, do we kapow or do we stay? We will put it up to the vote. Let's get the vote going, guys. Come on. Got to warm up the band hammer. We getting any votes? Dean, Straight Edge, Benjamin, Rufio. Rufio says kapow, one kapow. Benjamin says kapow. That's the second kapow. Tylenol, yes, kapow. His mom took too much Tylenol. All right. That's good enough. There's no way we're getting 4 stays. Older 66. Blaine, dude, you're screwed. Blaine, get ready for it. Kapow. And you're out. The jury has spoken. You've been voted off the island. Thank you for your input, guys. I don't like to get loud on the kapows in the morning, by the way. All right. So another one bites the dust. Harris, from a hypertrophy perspective, is overhead pressing even necessary if you do enough pressing and then just supplement with lateral raises? From a hypertrophy perspective, no, it's not absolutely necessary. What you're describing will work just fine. However, from a possible shoulder health and an athletic and a strength perspective, we're dealing with a potentially essential movement pattern with vertical pressing. So from a strength and function, I would say no, it is necessary. But if we're going to talk purely hypertrophy of developing your shoulder girdle and even pressing muscles, then no, it's not strictly necessary, Harris. Right? So I don't do any delt work anymore. Till my shoulders are where I want them to be, and then I'll overhead press again. I don't even do delt work at all, personally. Just kind of like, I do rep work at 315 on the bench, and I do a lot of pull-ups. A lot of weighted pull-ups. I don't worry about them. Did you ever do seated cable rows? On occasion. Every now and then. Just because. I used to just do stuff just to change stuff up and finish a lot of times. Straight says, see you later, Jason. Peace out. See you later. All right. 7:30 and the sun is up. We might wind this down. My arms do still look smaller in the mornings, even when the sun is up. Until I carved up. What we got going on them? Yeah, they look totally different still before I eat food. Totally different. Even the veins are smaller. See you, coach. Enjoy your run, man. Yeah, I'll get a run going. I'm not ready to run yet. I got to be in my headspace. I don't really need to be. Why do we need to be in a headspace to train? It's just silly. Just go deadlift. Just go run. Suck it up. Speaking of all that, though, we've been in here a couple hours. This has been a long one. I'm going to go ahead and wind down the Facebook. Yeah, I'll stream the run, obviously. This has been a good little coffee chat this morning. Love you guys, and I'll catch you in some other streams later today.